Welcome to Cannabis School. I'm your host, Jesse Angeles.
And I'm Brandon Elder.
And we're here to talk to you about everything pertaining to cannabis, from vape,
flower,
edibles,
strains,
and everything in between. Hey everybody, welcome back. Another Tuesday, and today we've got a special guest. We are so excited to be able to introduce him. He is the commander of cannabis. I've heard that many times learning about this guy. I love that title. Brandon, who are we talking to today?
Oh, we're talking to Joe Tierney, the Gentleman Toker.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, excited to have you here. All the way from DC. Used to be in DC.
Well, yeah, I mean, more or less. When you get anywhere within, 2 hours of DC, we call it DC, right? So
right. It's like the same, yeah.
Might as well. When people ask us, where we're from, we just tell them the capital city. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so we're close to that.
Yeah. So you were in printing business for like a long time and then made the jump to cannabis. What brought you from printing into cannabis?
Well, the printing industry has been going through some contractions, right? Consolidations for a number of years. There were a lot of printers that were around during the 80s and stuff like that. Xerox got going, so there's tons of these guys around. But as time moves on, there's less and less demand for, having some physical printed piece to like hand somebody, right? So I noticed that there was, every other month, one of the vendors I was working with went out of service, and we got a notice that they had sold to some bigger company. And so I started looking around and going, I am, X years old. I don't know if I can literally plan to make this my entire career at this point. By the time I get to like 50 or so, like maybe the whole industry has shrunk to a point that it would be unable to sustain me. So I started looking around at other opportunities, and it was really just cannabis. It was just cannabis for me. There wasn't anything else. Once legalization happened in Colorado, I kind of became obsessed with it, and becoming part of the industry, and did everything that I could. Ended up going out to Seattle to a joint rolling company to interview for a job. He flew me out to test me on the floor for a couple days.
Was that for Snoop Dogg or like Wiz Khalifa?
I assure you it wasn't that glamorous. But, it would have been a cool gig. The guy seemed kind of a hard case, but, halfway through the second day, he takes me to the back office. He throws on the reggae. He fires up the dab, and he gave me the first dab I ever had. And then he said, "You're done for the day. Go have fun." So now I had to go leave. I've just had a dab. I'm driving through a city I'm unfamiliar with. My phone is dying. I actually had to pull into a gas station and be like, "Can I charge my phone here, please? I don't know where I am."
That's fantastic. How long ago was that you took your first dab?
Oh, that was back in, that would have been 2015 then.
I don't know. I don't know if I was dabbing back then or not. I definitely was into pens, but I don't think I dabbed till probably like 2018, maybe.
Just flower for me.
Oh, yeah. Flower's always my mistress. I love that. It will
preferred above all.
No concentrate or extract that I have found, or edible or tincture, lives up to flower. The experience is hands down the best. So I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so you go from pretty much just printing paper to smoking paper. But how long have you had this love affair with cannabis?
I started smoking when I was 16. I am 42 now, so it's been a career.
Nice. A lifetime.
Lifelong pursuit.
It absolutely has. for me, it helped me be productive. It helped me, as weird as it may sound, like it helped me be a cog in the machine and actually show up and be a productive member of society. So that's what cannabis did for me.
Oh, I agree. It does the same thing for me today. I
Yep,
am a lot
same.
more productive, effective, focused with cannabis, and can get a lot more stuff done.
Yeah, I
Shit.
call productivity to a bad degree. Like if I'm productive, I'm like, great, I can get away with anything as long as I'm.
Yeah, because you get shit done. That's all that matters, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that's got to be pretty amazing now. I mean, even though like a lot of us go, I mean, Patton Oswalt has a really good skit about it. Like whatever you think is an exotic job is somebody else's pain in the ass job. Is it the same with like what you're doing now? Like there's got to be days like, dude, I can't review another strain. I just can't.
Yeah, 150%. I bought into the concept that, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's not true. What happens is you love what you do, so you never stop doing it, but it's always work. And so you end up exhausting yourself in the pursuit of your passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell our audience a little bit about the Gentleman Toker, what it is that you do.
Sure. Well, the site started, I was I call it a disgruntled medical patient in Washington, D.C. So after, my travels to Colorado when they started legal sales, and then to Seattle, soon after that, Washington, D.C. Was trying to legalize cannabis. Through a ballot initiative called Initiative 71, and it passed with 70% support. I was living in Virginia at the time, and unbeknownst to me, I had moved into this apartment where it was full of people that worked in law enforcement, three-letter agencies, military, and I would go
imagine the clearance there.
I didn't notice, and so I would go out on my balcony and smoke a bowl in the evenings, and this upset them. And I heard a downstairs neighbor discussing with the other neighbors about what to do about the situation that was me. And I said, you know what, it's time for me to get the hell out of here. And DC was just getting ready to legalize, so I am probably the shortest traveled cannabis refugee. I booked it out of Alexandria, Virginia, for 4 miles down the road to Washington, D.C. But it was a really important border to cross because now, for the first time in my life, I lived in a legal city. I lived where I wouldn't have to worry about a knock on the door about cannabis, that, the cops were going to rush in and anything. For me, it was huge. And then, I was watching Mayor Bowser argue with Congress as to whether or not to allow legalization to go through. Congress actually tried to interfere and threatened the mayor and the council with arrest should they move forward with legalization. Mayor Bowser stood her ground and told them they were going to do it anyway. And after that was birthed what is known as the Harris Rider. The Harris Rider was started by Andy Harris. He is a House member from Maryland's Eastern Shore. And he added a rider to the federal spending budget because DC doesn't control its own purse strings. The federal government does, after some mismanagement in the 70s. So he put a rider in, and the rider prohibits them from spending any of their own money to set up a tax and sales system for retail cannabis. So, to their credit, DC's mayor and city council decided to see it through anyway. They were tired of locking away people for cannabis, and they didn't want to do it anymore. And, I can't tell you how good that made me feel. Hey, here's somebody, a politician that's actually standing up for me and for my rights and telling them that no, after years of propaganda, no, this person is not a problem. They're a productive member of society and should be treated as such. And so that was a huge moment for me. I ended up joining the DC Medical Cannabis Program, because right after that, right after Initiative 71, they're like, okay, let's take advantage of all these new patients. They changed the rules so that there were no qualifying conditions whatsoever. It was between you and your doctor if cannabis was right for you. So you go to the doctor, no matter what ailment.
Yeah, it's medical use.
Exactly. And that's the way it should be, between you and your doctor, right? If there's a condition that, because usually, a lot of states, it's a very narrow, it'll be somewhere between 5 and, a dozen qualifying conditions, but they eliminated that. So I got my medical cannabis card. And, the products that I found at the dispensary, the prices, the quality, the availability, were all really lacking, which, I could compare it to my previous trips out west. And I'm like, what's going on here? The products are twice as much. They don't meet, current standards for, these products in the industry. And so I tried to speak to them about it. And I wrote a review on a site that they posted their menu called Sticky Guide. And one of the dispensary. So back then, when you were a medical patient, you could only choose one dispensary to work with. The dispensary that I was working with took down my review from Sticky Guide, which I didn't appreciate. So I started gentlemantoker.com to give myself a space where I could talk about their products freely without having to worry about censorship.
That's awesome. There's been a drastic difference in quality across the board from state to state and from even dispensary to dispensary. So I know even here in Utah, the quality of products has improved in the last year, but they are still super lacking. And the qualifying conditions, like you said, there's like a handful of them that they allow. And it's like a lot of standard medical programs, they are run by people who probably have never tried it and really don't understand a lot of it because they are not spending the time to read the information that's already in front of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of nepotism that goes on, a lot of back channeling that goes on. And, if you look at like comments from True Leaves founder recently, he was like, nope, never smoked cannabis, wouldn't know good cannabis if it, fell and hit me in the face. What I do know is it's a great investment opportunity.
Yeah.
Quote, but you look it up, you'll see I'm pretty close.
That's terrible though. But so many of them are just in cannabis for the money. They don't use their own products. They're not connected to the plant or even the community of cannabis. So it's truly people just in there for their own pockets and that, but you do see other people who are changing the game and bringing forth a better quality and trying to think of the people, patients, you and me, and the people listening, So that's really cool. You've been doing, since 2016, you've been doing Gentleman Toker?
Yeah. And what you just spoke on is exactly, my passion and the way that I've tried to approach it. It's never been like, oh, I'm the gentleman and I say it's good. It's me saying, here are the criteria that you should be looking for. This isn't about me and being like the fanciest connoisseur on the block. This is about me trying to teach everyday stoners how to be a sophisticated shopper and how to think critically about the cannabis that they're going. The world, to get the industry that we want doesn't need one gentleman. It needs, 5 million that everybody knows what quality cannabis is. And so that's my mission, is to educate as many people as possible as to what they should be looking for and what they shouldn't be looking for when they're purchasing cannabis.
So give us a couple. What are some of the things that people should be looking for?
Well, I can break down the overall philosophy into a single sentence, which is, if it smells good to you, if you smell it and it smells appealing, that's probably good cannabis. If you smell it and it doesn't appeal to you, it puts you off, there's something wrong with it. That's a good indicator that there's something wrong with it. These noses, they do something, right? That's millennia, humans have smelled plants and gone, I don't think that's any good. That's the general gist of it. Getting into specifics, you're looking for something that has a really strong aroma. And as long as it appeals to you, and there's several that do, like citrus scents are great, pine scents are great. I'm old school. I love those old skunks. If the entire metro car can smell my bag in my pocket, like that's great.
Some loud stuff. Yeah. I feel you. Just had some cheetah piss, and that stuff was incredibly loud.
Oh yeah.
Same with
Oh, yeah.
sour diesel. Yeah, those.
Right before we got on, we tried honey wine. And
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
that's
Incredibly smooth. Really, really nice taste.
and it's got those hints, like, and like what you're talking about, like if it smells good, and when you smell it, it smells like, I would say that the best way to describe it is smelling honey in a tea. It's faint, but it's just enough, almost like how I imagine like Vikings drinking mead, where like and they drink it and it's just like it's made out of honey, right? It's awesome, and that is exactly what this is. This is the Viking strain that anybody wants to be able to use. You clean your beard and you have a toke and you're feeling great.
Well, don't bogart it, man.
It's really easy for any cannabis consumer to go, that's my favorite. This is my favorite of all time. But I feel that my taste, I mean, it's like, I only eat rice. I only feel like if I only can have one type of strain, it's good, but I like variety. So what are you smoking right now that you absolutely love?
Well, right this minute, I am judging samples for the National Cannabis Championship. So I don't know what I'm smoking because they're all labeled with numbers and I'm not supposed to know who grew them or what they're.
Oh, wow. All right. So which number has been the best experience?
Yeah.
No, I can't talk about that yet.
All right. But
So,
beyond that.
Yeah. Outside of what,
I recently went out to California for Hall of Flowers and the Emerald Cup Harvest Ball. And at Hall of Flowers, I found a strain called Sweet Thang by a company actually they're called the Cure Company, now that I think of it, in LA. Man, that was just a perfect sativa for me in terms of, what I'm looking for is something that helps me focus, that boosts my mood, but doesn't interfere with thinking and doesn't put me to sleep. That's kind of my ideal criteria.
so you're more sativa leaning.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, indicas are necessary. I'll stock up on sativas, and then at the end. So when I first went to Denver, I rushed the dispensary and I'm like, give me sativas. I just want sativas. And then I, drove 2 hours in the mountain to the resort and realized around midnight that I could not sleep. So the next day I drove 2 hours back and said, give me some indicas. I need some indicas.
That's fantastic. What's your favorite indica?
Oh, favorite indica. I'm a big fan of perps strains like the Mendo perps. In fact, that's one of the ones that I don't really exactly know how to describe the smell. And I just tell everybody, it's that perp smell. It's very unique.
Yeah.
Very unique. Yeah.
Perps have it. They have terps that just come with perps. The terps of perps. Yeah. It's true though. They speak. I love perp strains. Like my favorite strain of all time is Purple Swish, and those tones in there are amazing. So yeah.
But one of the things that I've tried to get across to our readers over the years is, strains are good in an ideal platonic sense for shopping, but they're not great at being sure that you're going to get the exact results. You can't really just go, two different sour diesels might hit completely different.
Totally.
Different growers. Yeah.
Exactly. It comes down to the growers and how well it was grown.
And their process. Yeah. It totally changes the entire plant. Yeah. You can get like an outdoor one that's different chemicals or whatever, even organic stuff that they put into it. And you get a really solid indoor grow that has perfect levels of nitrogen, oxygen, all of this stuff in there, and they have they're not even the same plant. I mean, they are, but they're not.
Yeah, and if you're going from seed, there's definitely going to be differences either way. But even with clones, if you're going to raise them in different conditions, you're going to end up with different results. Now, the overall terpenes that they can potentially provide are going to be tied to its genetics. But just because you got sour diesel doesn't mean that it's going to, the way that you grow it is going to make it express, every terpene in its full amount.
Or even the same effects that one might assume typically come from a sour diesel, just because of how it's bred. So
Sure. And when it's harvested matters. There's been a theory going around, unfortunately, we're left with, people's trial and error and then them reporting their results just because, their cannabis research hasn't been allowed in this country for so long. But one of the theories is that it, depending on when you harvest the plant, if it's later on, you will get more indica effects and darker trichomes.
yeah, letting the amber and that come into it instead of harvesting when they're still clear and white trichomes, you get a lot different effects in there. So you were also doing events for like high society and that. What other events are you looking forward in 2022 for Gentleman Toker?
Well, National Cannabis Festival is the big one. And National Cannabis Championship. It's the first of its kind here on the East Coast. Maybe not the first weed competition, but certainly the biggest and most legitimate one that anybody has seen. So that's super exciting. I'm really looking forward to being a judge for this. And beyond that, we have we're planning a CBD cocktail hour. We have some local mixologists that are going to make some really great drinks, and I'm going to work alongside them to recommend some great CBD flower and with terps and stuff, because again we're limited in how much we can do in Washington DC at the moment. So hemp is legal. We're sticking with that for right now. And we're hoping that we can put on some more events in the future. But our main focus is our editorial work. I have a staff of several other cannabis enthusiasts like myself that have seen that there are some issues with the industry and would like to work to try and point these issues out and see if they can't be reformed. So I'm certainly blessed to have this great team of really passionate, insightful people. And some of our work has looked at whether lab potency and lab safety results are accurate and can be trusted. We've looked at vape carts and we've obviously everybody knew about the epidemic that happened, prior to COVID. But I thought it was important that we go back and look post EVALI, the term that they came up for at EVALI, and see what else had been found out. And the more that we research, the more that we find that there can be a lot of issues from the hardware itself. Regardless of what chemicals are being used to cut, the hardware itself can be problematic in a lot of places. So we get into that kind of stuff, and then we get into some fun stuff too in terms of like talking about these are our favorite breeding projects that are happening right now in cannabis. We did our research and looked into and came up with the 5 most reputable seed banks that we could find. Evaluating customer feedback and people's reporting about, whether they had issues with the customer service or whether the seeds didn't germinate or things like that. Whenever we write something, even if it sounds like, oh, this is a simple listicle, we're getting in depth to it. That's what we want to do.
That's way cool.
Where do we and where can everybody find this info? Is it gentlemantoker.com?
Yep, that's perfect. Gentlemantoker.com is where the our editorial work lives. We've got a presence on social media as well. But
you started a podcast too?
Oh, right. Thanks for reminding me about that. It's been a really busy April.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
That's true. I do have a podcast.
Yeah, those will be in the show notes. You
Yeah.
guys can check out the links to Gentleman Toker and his podcast in there as well.
Yeah, highly recommended. Great conversations. It's fantastic. Well done. And it's the voice that we're looking for as well within the cannabis community. We've said this so many times. We're just kind of done with the cannabis podcast of how do I make money and how do you grow it. Both of them are way over the heads of people who really just want to know all of these wonderful attributes that this plant can provide, and so many strains. There's one for you, way better than any type of pharmaceutical that's going to be able to enter into your stream. And so it's been awesome. We're being able to get to know you, learning about everything that you're doing and how passionate you are. We feel the exact same way. Kindred spirits all the way.
Absolutely. I love what you guys are doing. And it's, I think a lot of people have been trying to figure out how to reach people that are new to cannabis, because that's, we need them on board and knowing what's going on. If we're going to have a really great and robust industry, we want to bring people up to speed as quickly as possible. And I just think it's fantastic that you guys have made this outlet to reach these folks, and I'm super appreciative of the opportunity to come on and chat.
Oh, for sure, man. We were so stoked to be able to have you on. And hey, brother, thank you so much for being able to be here today with us. Brandon, what are some final thoughts you got, brother?
Joe, I truly appreciate this Gentleman Toker experience. It's been great, sharing this with our audience. Tune in. Check out Joe's podcast and go to Gentleman Toker. You can find 5 spots in DC that are cool to check out when you're a little bit stony. And for those who haven't gone to DC, it's incredible. You should check it out.
Yeah.
It is. It's a really great city. Everybody should make it out to the Capitol at least once. It's so eclectic. And if you do come out, make sure you hit up, you're here on a Sunday and you can go to Malcolm X Park for the drum circle. It's just this amazing experience. It's been going on since the 70s. It's always been cannabis friendly. These guys show up. They don't ask for any money or anything. They just come up with their drums and they play and people dance all night. If you're in DC, that'd be my top recommendation. Hit up the drum circle.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely check it out. That sounds cool.
All right. Well, with that, everybody, thank you again. And we're looking forward to being able to see you guys and hear from you next week. Take care.